Welcome to the Roofing Business Growth Circle with Jacques Skuteeki, the go-to 15-minute power session for roofers who want more profit, better projects, and marketing that actually works. In each episode, you'll hear fast, practical ideas from real roofers and suppliers that can plug straight into your business and grow your bottom line. Now, get ready to level up your roofing business with your host, Jacques Skuteeki.
All right, welcome back. Today we're kicking this series off with something I see all the time. Roofing companies that are busy, booked, and bringing in revenue, but the owner is completely tied to everything. If you ever felt like your business can't move without you, this episode is going to hit home. Willard, let's start here. Today's episode 1 is the wake-up call.
And I truly hope this is a wake-up call. So many business owners are confused. They think that busy is profitable, and it's just not true. Busy does not mean profitability.
You know, I speak to a lot of roofers who are booked and making money, but they're exhausted. And if they step away for 30 days, most things would slow down or even stop. Why is that so common?
Well, there's a fancy term that people use, institutional knowledge. It means that you know everything about your business up here. But when it's up here, it's very hard to teach it to other people. You know the conversations that you need to have with people to generate your leads. But people in your office don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to generate qualified leads. That's something that you've learned through trial and error over the time. They don't know how to close sales. They don't know how to do estimates correctly. Everything relies on you. And if you stepped away for 30 days, you probably wouldn't have a business when you came back.
So from what you see across different industries, what's really happening when a business looks successful but cannot function without the owner?
Give you an example. There was an airplane advertising company that I was working with about 15 years ago. They had been in business for 18 years. The owner was the pilot of one of the planes. He actually had 2 or 3 planes, had other pilots. But when we sat down to have a structural meeting with them of what was happening in the company, here were what some of the job roles and responsibilities were. The other pilots also had to clean the toilets. And sometimes they had to answer the phone, and the receptionist sometimes had to go out and fuel the planes. You've got people who are doing things that aren't letting them play to their strengths. They're doing everything they can because they're passionate about your company. They're passionate about you. They want to see the business succeed. But the more they diversify what they're doing, they're actually hurting what could be a profitable business because they're not focused on their strengths.
You know, like in our conversation, you always say that many business owners haven't built a business, they've built a high-paying job. So what does that look like in real life?
I talk to people all the time who think that being a business owner is all rainbows and roses. I don't know another term to use for it. I'm going to make all the money. I'm going to have time freedom. And the reality, when you've just got the high-paying job, is you're the first one to show up. You're the last one to leave. If somebody calls out sick, you're the one who has to come in and cover. If jobs are short that week, you got to take care of payroll before you can pay yourself. So sometimes it's not even a high-paying job, but you really don't have a business. A business is something that you can measure, monitor, control, adjust, and you'll hear me say this through the whole series. A business is something that operates when you're not there. It doesn't slow down just because the boss took a day off.
So why do revenues, leads, and key decisions still run through the owner, even with crews and staff in place?
It's a great question. You and I talked in an earlier episode about the phases of business. Phase 3, where you hire people. Phase 4, when you have it systematized. If you're the business owner, you've spent possibly years building the business, and there's so many things that you keep up here in your head, you do them without even thinking about them. So when you delegate to somebody else or when you train somebody else, no matter how good you think you are, I'm willing to guarantee you that you are missing giving them key information they need to be able to replicate what you do. In 25 years of doing business advising, there's one thing that I can say that every time I've done it, X has happened. And that is every time that I sit down and I ask a business owner, so when you're making a sales call, what's the very first thing you do? They'll tell me. And I'll ask them, is there anything that you do before that? And they'll go, well, yeah. And give me 3 to 10 things that they do before what they just said is the first thing they do. This is the reason for the failure. This is the reason that everything is reliant on them. It's natural for them to do it. It's not natural for your sales guy or for your project manager or for the subcontractor you're dealing with. They don't think like you. This is where people fail with getting their crews and their staff to operate the way that the owner would.
I hear that every day. Weird. So what does that dependency actually cost them? And not just financially, but in stress and freedom?
You don't get freedom. That airplane advertising company I talked to, that owner didn't get to take a vacation in 18 years. That was one of the reasons that he called us in. You don't get to take a sick day. If your PM, if they're in an accident or they're sick, who's got to come in and cover? The stress level is unbelievable. How many business owners do you know? How many roofing business owners do you know, Jacques, that you sit down and every week they are looking at their numbers and they don't know. Are they going to hit payroll this week? Are they going to struggle because the season has changed? That stress leads to strokes, heart attack, all of these types of things. And here's one of the biggest things. They don't see a way out. There is no exit strategy. You can't sell a business that is dependent on you.
And also, when you're running a business, you get into this habit, right? I always talk about the customer journey, and every business has a different understanding of what the customer journey is, what their customer journey is. 100%. And it's incredible. It's like they all are offering exactly the same service, but they all go about it differently because of what they believe works for them. So when they don't know that they don't know that. So now they're going to these habits that are not necessarily the most productive habits.
And the customer journey is so important. I'm glad you brought that up. This is a part that most business owners basically accidentally get right from time to time. The most successful business owners have documented that customer journey, and they're paying attention to each step of the journey going, how can I improve my lead generation? How can I improve that first conversation? How can I improve qualification? How can I improve my paperwork so it doesn't scare people away? How can I improve closing? That customer journey, every step is so important, and most people fly by the seat of their pants with it.
And then you add delivery, inventory, right? Scheduling your staff, making sure that the truck is working, that it's just incredible how complex it can be. But with the right SOPs, it can be just a piece of cake.
Absolutely.
So if someone wanted a reality check, what's the simplest question they should ask themselves?
I think the simplest question that I start with business owners with is, if you were going to sell your business today, what are the top reasons that somebody would not buy it? And they start thinking about, well, I mean, I'm the one that has to do everything. They'd have to buy me. They're not buying a business. Or well, they wouldn't buy it because there's no, there's great years and there's not so great years. There's not consistent revenue. Start looking at the things that aren't working so you can create a plan to fix them. My lead generation is all over the place. If I go away for 30 days, there's no leads being generated to fill the pipeline. So it's not just 30 days that I'm losing out on. I'm losing out on 60 to 90 days because how long is my sales cycle from when a lead comes in? You have to think strategically about these things.
You got a very good point. And also they're so busy running their business, right, that they don't have the time to think. They're just patching, right? And after 12 hours day of work, they got to go back to the other reality, which is their life, which is not their business life, and then they're exhausted. The next day they come in, so they never take an hour to look at their operations. That's why they need outside consultation with a person like you that can say, wait a minute here, let's get you out of the business. Let's look at the big picture. And that being said, like, what does it look like when a roofing company actually runs well while the owner is gone for 2 weeks? How does it look like?
It's actually a world of difference. I mean, when you've got the systems in place and you've got the right people in place, you can leave for 2 weeks and not be on your phone multiple times a day. Sometimes it takes owners a few trips to get used to going, okay, I don't have to keep checking at the office and make sure that everything's going right. But when you get to the point that the company is actually running like a machine, when you come back, yes, there will be things for you to catch up on. That's part of being the owner. But you're not going to come back to a dumpster fire, which is what most business owners come back to if they're gone for a week, let alone 2 weeks. There are going to be issues, but the major things that have gone on, your team will have known how to handle without you being there, without being reliant on you. That's when you know you've got a business that you can actually leave to your children if you choose to, that you can put on the market and actually sell it so you can retire if you want to. You can't do that until you've got that finely tuned machine.
So how does it feel like for a business owner on a Monday morning when they drop the kids at school or they went to the gym or whatever, and they walk into their office on that Monday morning and they're not walking into chaos? How does that feel like?
You know what? It's kind of hard to explain to people because they haven't experienced anything like that in a very long time. Think back to a time in your life where maybe it was when you were living with your parents and things were taken care of. You came home and you knew dinner was going to be ready. You came home and you knew you didn't have to worry about the electric bill or the phone bill being paid. It was taken care of. Similar emotion. But again, if you've been busting your tail at your business for a while, you've forgotten what that feels like to have that certainty, that peace of mind, that clarity that goes, you know what? I'm not running from one fire to another to another. I'm not going to bed at night wondering, all right, what's the job board look like for the next month? And what happens when winter gets here? What are we going to do? Yes, those things still happen, but you have a way to navigate them because you have processes in place. You don't slow down on your marketing efforts when things are going well, because if you slow down while they're going well, when that curve peaks, you've got no leads in your pipeline. You have to have a system that keeps everything moving consistently. And that brings mainly peace of mind.
Wow. And if someone wants that kind of stability, what's the first shift they need to make in how they think about their business?
I usually ask people a couple of questions. And it starts off with, what do you believe about yourself? What do you believe your role is as the business owner? Some people are like, well, I'm the chief cook and bottle washer. I've got to do this, that, and the other. Okay, what do you believe about your industry? Oh, the roofing business is hard. You got to be out there. You got to hustle. What do you believe about your competition? Well, my competition, or I'll keep the expletives out of here. But after I get the person to first tell me, what do you believe about those things? I ask them, what would you need to believe to be successful? Well, I need to believe that as a business owner, I've got a strong team in place that handles things, and I'm just looking for the next opportunity. What do you need to believe about your industry? I need to believe that there's a strong need for what my service is, and I'm one of the best people to provide it to them. It's learning what you currently believe and what you need to believe to shift away from being owner dependent to actually having a business. And that takes some work. You need somebody to bounce those questions off of, because we get stuck in our own head with those questions sometimes and don't come up with the best answers.
What I'm noticing is that, home repair services like HVAC or even roofers, some of them only do 1, 2, or 3 jobs a month. And how do you open their mind? Like there's one or two people on their team and they're struggling. They can't answer the phone. They're too busy. They're like, you really feel that they're under stress, right? So how do you open that conversation? Like, how do we get in a space where somebody is listening to this right now and they can connect with exactly this conversation, right? And where is that breaking point? When is the tipping point that, wow, I need to look at this differently? Like what is necessary for them to say, click, bang, I have to make a switch? How can that happen? What's a trigger to make that happen?
Sure. If you're having thoughts, whether it's weekly, monthly, every couple of months, that are saying, why in the world am I doing this? It's time to start asking that question. It's time to start looking at how you can shift things. You got into this business because you have a skill, you have a passion, you have a solution to a problem that people have. But if you're questioning why you're doing it, it's probably because you're not making the money that you hoped you would make. It's probably because you're working longer hours than you thought you were going to be working. So you need to be able to shift that mindset to go, how can I create solutions for these problems? That's where you need to focus on. And if you're asking those questions, that's the first place to tell you that there's an issue there.
So if someone wants this kind of stability, what's the first shift they need to make in how they think about their business? Where does it start? How does it start?
First thing is really shifting away from thinking that you're the only person that can do everything. It's about trusting your team. And the only way you get to trusting your team is by starting to build them up as leaders and give them the right tools, the right resources to be able to succeed. And that's going to take time. You know, we had tremendous success with that commercial real estate company, but it was 6 months of identifying the problem and creating solutions. 6 more months of implementing those solutions, and then 6 more months to see the return on that investment.
Thank you. There's a lot of stuff there to digest and see how we can connect to this content. And thank you, Willard, this is incredible. So if this episode made you realize you've built a job instead of a business, that's not a bad thing. It just means you're at the starting point. The good news is this is fixable, and it's never too early or too late to start building a business that runs without you. Again, Willard, thank you so much for your ideas and your insight, and I'm looking forward to the next episode.
I am as well. Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure.
If you're serious about winning, don't stop here. Visit roofingbusinessgrowthcircle.com and unlock our resource vault featuring valuable free tools, guides, and resources from our guest speakers. Listen to more episodes of the podcast and book a Beat Your Competition strategy call with Jacques. Until next time, keep raising the bar in your roofing business.